My visits to freedom have been increasing. I've been spending days, sometimes weeks, away from the ward, which means sleeping in my own bed. A strangely worrying concept when it happens. It's so different. I've become so used to my room and the sad queue at 11 o'clock for nighttime drugs. I have, of course, become heavily institutionalized. But slowly you work your way back into your old life, and then visits to the ward are just a pain in the arse. Today I'm having a ward meeting with my parents and the head shrink. I'm spending a week at home, but then coming back to spend the weekend at the ward. I object. It just feels like the last thing I want to do. You know, going away and then coming back here. Well, perhaps, says the head shrink, we need to think about discharging you. And it happens. Just like that. All those hours, days, months, weeks, I've been imagining this moment. But when it comes, it just seems like the rational thing to do. I am gone. Not with a whimper or with a bang, but with a nod of assent from the other medical types in the room. I'm free. But I don't whoop or do any fist pumps. I just look down as I take this information in. I mean, okay, I'll be returning to the ward for checkups and getting my stuff out, so it's hardly goodbye. And once again, on this day where I really want to share my good news with everyone, life comes up short. A lot of my friends aren't on the ward, and my favourite nurses aren't working. Except Tamika, the student doctor. She's working. Now, I'm sure it's not ward policy, but she gets a big hug. As I walk through the doors, I think about taking my mother's hand and then dancing through the doors. But I don't. Looking back on the whole affair and what I've tried to capture with my installation, David Parkin's Delusions at Grandeur, and these little chats, I realise that I've fallen short in some areas. Firstly, my mum and dad. I would like to take this moment to publicly thank them. They were great. They didn't live in Leicester, but they came up and they stayed in hotels and houses around Leicester so they could see me pretty much every day. And bear in mind, I was there for 4 months. Having them and my superb support network of friends makes me a very lucky person indeed. I mean, putting someone up for sectioning must contain a certain kind of pain that, once again, I don't think I've captured here. And then there's going in to the hospital and seeing that person so frustrated and I'm just going to say the word, so mad, and then later just so broken. It wasn't easy living it at all, and I'm sure people with the ringside seats weren't having much fun either. Secondly, I feel I've rather bad-mouthed the NHS. Now, that's mainly because the bad stuff sticks in your brain better than the lovely stuff, and also it makes better reading. I mean, I do feel that the NHS is a massively overlooked and I do feel that mental health on the NHS is a massively overlooked and underfunded area. It's an uneasy topic. A broken brain is far more complicated than a broken leg. I hope my installation and these chats, if nothing else, might create a little bit of debate. And ultimately, the NHS did fix me. It's been a huge turning point in my life. To be seen by doctors who specialise in mental health care and not just some lost, overworked GP meant that I was properly diagnosed, and now I live with the right treatment for that diagnosis. On a personal level, it has made me pause and think, well, I never want to go back there. And so I've altered my life a little, and I do feel a lot more self-aware. My aftercare has been great too. Shortly after being released from being sectioned, a nurse came and visited me every week, and I began to see her as a friend. And now, all these years later, I still talk to a nurse at least once a month, and I've got a psychiatrist who keeps an eye on me. And finally, I have to say, of course, that the huge majority of doctors and nurses who work on the NHS are wonderful people who work very hard and just care because it's in their DNA. It's a truly noble vocation to have. A bit like being an artist and going on about yourself. That might be somewhat better. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of these little chats. My website will be coming up shortly. So if you do want to contact me, ask me a question, feel free to just drop me a line. I'm quite approachable. I don't bite. Well, I haven't done recently.